fail at a job or in your business, people look at you differently. And it's a stigma that we need to get rid of. We need to stop being afraid to talk about how we feel and what it's doing to us. Lose the toxic masculinity portion and really be a lot more open with people about, how we feel.
Welcome to the My Future Business Show, where we get you in front of your best audience and keep you there. Not only are we interviewing the biggest names in business to help you become even more successful, we're inviting you to book your spot on the show to help you grow your business. So at the end of the call, make sure you fill in the interview application form at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. Hello and welcome back to the My Future Business Show. My name's Rick Nusky. I am your host. Thank you so very much for joining us today. You know what? It's an absolute privilege of mine to be able to host this show. The feedback that I've been reading through is just amazing. It's all inspiring, and it wouldn't be what it is without your support. So thank you very much. And importantly, it's making all the difference for me, knowing that it is making a difference for you. Now, talking about making a difference on today's show, I have the pleasure of welcoming Executive Confidence and Achievement Coach Christopher Mitra. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Rick. I really appreciate you having me on the show today.
Oh, look, it's absolutely my pleasure. And we're going to be talking about how you help professionals, entrepreneurs, and leaders outgrow their comfort zone, discover their unique strengths, and set, reach, and exceed new goals. That's a lot to get through in a fairly short amount of time. But but before we do any of that, Chris, it's customary for us to certainly spend some time learning a little bit more about you. Now, where are you calling in from today?
Yeah, so I'm calling in from Kamloops, British Columbia, so about 3.5 hours outside of Vancouver.
Fantastic. Has that been home forever?
Yeah, actually, my entire 53 years on this planet have been in Kamloops, so yeah, it is home.
You talk about 53 years. It's amazing how time flies by, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, and I'm sure I probably act much younger than my age.
Good.
Probably immature, but yeah, no, it's definitely gone by very quickly.
You know what? Thinking about that, tell us a little bit about what growing up was like for you. Do you have any fond memories?
Well, yeah, you know what? I mean, growing up in the 70s was a great time to grow up. I live, the town I live in is it's a nice size. It's comfortable. It's not too big. It's not too small. So, I had that really great childhood. A lot of fabulous memories. Just, being outside at 7 o'clock in the morning, and then you come in at dark, and everything was just really enjoyable. I mean, kind of the way a childhood should be.
Yeah, it was a lot easier back then. I recall having a hammock out the front on our street, and we were able to sleep out there without any fear. Do you recall sort of having moments like that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that was a big chunk of my childhood was just, I mean, it was a great part living in a really nice neighborhood where, everybody was watching out for everybody else. So, there was no fences between the yards back then.
No.
So you just kind of ran and you played, and everybody had an eye on the kids. So you always just felt safe and comfortable, and it's kind of the way that a child should be feeling.
Absolutely, right? And that should continue throughout our lives. But things do change. We're going to be talking about your story in a moment in some depth. Now, I wonder, are you a pet lover?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have our children have left home, so we now have pets that take up the space. Yeah.
Excellent. So what are they?
Well, we have a cat, and we have a small min pin.
A min pin?
A miniature Doberman Pinscher.
Oh, there you go. That's
Yeah.
a new term I've not heard before. So you must have.
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
go ahead. I was just going to say that they've been a big help for me. I often call them my office assistants because, during the day they're in my office just sitting with me and hanging out, and they're just great because they're always excited to see you, and I think everybody needs somebody like that in their life.
I think you're touching on something really a lot closer to home than what we recognise. How important do you think pets are therapeutically for somebody who maybe lives alone?
Oh, an outstanding opportunity. I for what they I mean, because they're all just love,
Yep.
and they're there for you. I know people give cats a bad impression, but our cat, our dog, they just love to be with us. And I think that everybody needs contact. COVID-19 has been terrible in the sense that it's removed a lot of that social interaction out
Oh
of our
yeah.
lives, and having a pet just brings it back in.
So tell us a little bit about the time that you now have now that the kids have moved out. Do you have much time to have relaxation, and what do you do with yourself?
Well, it's kind of different. You transition. When you have kids at home, they're you spend the time taking care of them and making sure that a portion of their needs are met, and they grow
Hmm.
up to be balanced children. And once they're gone, you go through that empty nest syndrome where you're not quite sure where your place is. You've kind of lost a little bit of your identity, but then you get back on track again. So I don't I have my relaxation times. My wife
Hmm.
and I definitely have our relaxation times, but we really enjoy keeping busy and just doing stuff that just kind of makes our lives a little bit fuller and more exciting. So you just transition to a different state in your life.
Different state in your life. Thank you very much for sharing. Now, I often ask this question as a parent: what do you think your one superpower was?
That's a really good question. Probably dad jokes, I think, probably was my superpower.
Excellent. Oh, I love it. There's never enough time for dad jokes, especially if you ask the kids. So
Well, you know what? They still laugh at my dad jokes, so I guess that's a good sign.
you're winning. You're winning. So do you like movies? What do you like watching? Anything like that?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. We're big on. I'm a nerd and a geek by training, so sci-fi movies are definitely my fallback. But my wife and I have this really really big interest in horror movies. So that
Oh,
and I yeah my until I met my wife, I wasn't a really big fan of Halloween, but my wife was huge into it. So after we had our kids and they were a little bit older, we started doing haunted houses at our house in our backyard
oh yeah,
as a fundraiser,
yeah.
and every year it got bigger and bigger and bigger until we had hundreds and hundreds of people lined up Halloween night to come into our haunted house. So
Fantastic.
yeah, we raised a lot of money for charity, and we had a lot of fun. It was really really great.
Yeah, this is a really good conversation because I love to give context to the audience because I think it's important because we know that the nuts and bolts of what we do in our lives generally doesn't change. We have a format, we follow it, and we help people and all those things. But the lives behind the businesses is really what gets me excited. Now, may I just share my last horror movie was the Blair Witch Project. That was enough for me.
Well, it was a scary movie, so if you stop there, I think you're doing pretty good.
Now, in our formative years, we're often surrounded, Chris, by people who help us grow into the people that we come today. Did you have anybody like that in your life?
You know what? My 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 parents were definitely a big part of who I am today, and it wasn't always. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and pretend it was always positive,
Mm.
um, but the way that my parents raised me, and again, it had nothing to do with love. There was no shortage of love, but
Yep.
just some of the ideals that they had in life, and kind of their stance on what you need to do and what you shouldn't do, um, kind of really really developed who I was, and some of that stuff, some of that sort of mindset is stuff that I'm working to overcome now, just because I,
Yep.
I find that it hasn't been beneficial for me.
Yeah, that's great feedback because we're going to be obviously dovetailing into that conversation because there are some darker moments that we need to talk about for the context of today's call to make sure that we give the most value and to start helping those who are listening today. Now, are you an early riser? What's a day look like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely better in the morning than I am at nighttime, and I've always been that way, which is great. the only downside to that is my wife is the polar opposite. So she's more of a nighttime person, but it works. I get up. I've actually just started recently uh, um, working on a new fitness routine. So
Oh,
yeah, so that actually I actually enjoy getting up in the morning and doing my workout and doing some other uh, morning routine type things that just
mhm.
kind of really set me up for a successful day.
Yeah, fantastic. Loving the call. Thank you very much. Now, we've already just touched on the fact that you would have had some darker moments in your life, and I'd love to, if you could, again, going back to the fact that you're now an achievement and confidence coach that helps other people. Tell us about your story and why and how this all came about that you are now doing this.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Thanks. I think that I kind of touched on sort of the way I was raised by my parents. My dad was kind of had he was very old school, so
Mm.
that his sort of his formula for life was pretty basic and straightforward, and it was go to school, get good marks, then graduate, get a job with benefits and a pension plan, work to your 65, retire, and then pretty much die, right? So
Pretty much.
it's a very traditional for that
Very
generation.
vanilla.
It was kind of exactly, that's right, but is what you did. It was safe, and you were a good provider, and that's kind of all there was to it. But the unfortunate part was that so that's the way I was raised, and I kind
Yep.
of fell into that. And what I found is it just wasn't it, I found that I went to school.
Mm.
I got the corporate job, and I was miserable, and I spent a lot of years in a cubicle farm. And I'm an IT guy from my training.
Yep.
So I ended up falling into kind of a state of depression, um, and that was because there's not a lot to a lot of those corporate jobs. They don't allow you to grow and expand, and you kind of fit into a mold, and that's all they want you to
I'm
do.
hearing you.
So
Yep.
yeah, so I got out of that, and actually I had an out. I actually I did so poorly at that job that I actually got laid off. And some people look at that as, oh my God, that's terrible. For me, it was an opportunity to do something different. And
Mm-hmm.
so I started a software company with some partners,
Yep.
and that was great. So I got to sort of grow myself, and that was fabulous until that company started to fail. And for whatever the reasons were, that company started to fail
Mm-hmm.
after 8 or 9 years, and I fell into another state of depression just because I started to feel like I couldn't do anything. I failed at my first corporate job. I failed at this one, and it was really dark and depressing. A lot of anxiety, a lot of self doubt,
Mm-hmm.
um, and you know it was just I use the metaphor of sort of being in a deep well where you just can't see the light anymore. You're at the bottom. You can see light, you just don't know how to get to it.
Yeah.
And that's what I felt like for most of the days. And it's really hard on your soul to be in a place like that. And that's one of the reasons that I was lucky enough to find something for me, which was coaching,
Mm-hmm.
which uh, which allowed me an opportunity to kind of get out of that deep well. I learned a lot about myself and a lot about what made me tick, and I came to the realization that for me, what provided me with sort of my passion and my purpose was to help other people, right? Giving back, which I think is kind of the ultimate thing,
Mm-hmm.
um, is really put me in the groove, and made me excited to get up every day. So that's kind of takes me to where I am today.
Today. Yeah, thank you again for sharing. We have a lot of entrepreneurs and I guess startup business owners, those who may be struggling, and mindset would be a big part of that for them. Do you think it's important to talk about these things if you are struggling?
Oh, you know what? Absolutely. It's the unfortunate part of, um, especially obviously for me being a male, there's a lot of stereotypes around, you know, talking openly about your feelings.
Hmm.
For a guy, unfortunately, a big part of their identity is tied to their job, right? So, when you fail at a job or you fail in your business, people look at you differently, and it's a stigma that we need to get rid of. We need to stop being afraid to talk about how we feel and what it's doing to us, and lose the toxic masculinity
Yeah.
portion, and really be a lot more open with people about how we feel.
Yeah, I was going to touch on, I think masculinity has changed, hasn't it? It's now allowing us to become softer as men, and embracing each other as human beings with needs. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And, something that's I mean, I grew up with the role models for guys back then were John Wayne, Charles Bronson, right?
Yep.
These guys that were just manly men that just
Wow, howdy, partner.
exactly exactly right. They just kicked butt, and that's all they did, so you grow up with that's the identity that you're supposed to have, and unfortunately it doesn't help us in any way. It sets us back, and really makes us afraid. When you're able to open up and talk about how you feel, and I mean, it doesn't make you any less of a man. It just um, makes you more responsible. It makes you stronger to be able to open up and talk about these things.
So tell us a little bit about the risks involved and the stress that it put you under when you started these organisations. Because again, we have business owners, startup entrepreneurs, they're just about to walk the path that you've walked. How do you think you did when you were going through that? Were you managing risk very well, or did it stress you out? And what would you say to those who are now just about to do it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think I think if you're stepping on the path, you have to be aware that there's going to be risk, and there's going to be failure, and you're going to fall. But what really sets the people apart, the people who, because obviously in owning a business and entrepreneurship, there's a huge failure rate, and what sets the successful people apart are the ones that are able to get back up on their feet when they fail, and and move forward. So yeah, there's going to be some risk, and you want to try and minimize that the best you can. But you have to be able to push your boundaries, and push out your comfort zone in order to succeed.
You talk about getting back up when you fall over. I suggest that this might have a lot to do with mindset. How do you go about this when you're having a not so great day, which I think we all have?
Yeah, yeah. You know what? I tell my a lot of my clients that not to ever look at it as failure, because again, there's another mindset with business, which is failure is not an option, right? And But failure is absolutely an option. Failure is a great learning tool. So just kind of tweak the word. Don't use the word failure anymore. Just use it as feedback. I mean, it's going to happen. You're going to fail on certain things, but having the resiliency to get back up again and try something different is the factor that a major factor that determines success.
Yeah, fantastic feedback. I'd love to know, where did the name An Inspired Life come from? Why'd you choose that?
Uh, well, you know what? I guess I was really trying to find a way that like, as a coach, what am I trying to uh, do with my clients? And everybody comes with a different goal. Some people want to start a business. Some people suffer from procrastination. They want to they want to find a way out of that, or some people just want to get healthier. But everybody is trying to live a life that has more joy, and more passion and more happiness, and really it's just building something that's inspiring, something that you wake up every morning and you're excited to get out of bed and hit the day, and you're excited for the future, and that's really a huge part of living a great life, is being able to get out of bed. I think the second that you start to feel that tomorrow is going to be a bad day, um, you've defeated yourself.
Yeah.
So live an inspiring life is what I want people to do.
Yeah, thank you. Great feedback. I'm wondering, we live in a continuum in terms of our mental state, and you're taking people on a journey to experience transition. Given that, it would take a fair while for some people to maybe unlearn, and can you unlearn things that have affected you in your past life?
Oh, absolutely. A big chunk of what you learn is, done through those formative years. I mean, speaking about my life, I think, I learned very young that, um, getting good grades was really important. And I had a learning disability. I was dyslexic. And
Mm.
um, I had two brothers who were absolutely brilliant, who always get great grades, and I was the opposite end of the scale. So, report card day was not a happy day for me
Oh,
at home. But
yep.
you know, I've had to spend a lot of time rewriting that mindset and that mental programming to get over that. And it really just comes down to your commitment to do it. Like you can get stuck playing that old programming,
Mm.
or you can replace it with something that's new and exciting and wonderful, again, drives you to get up excited in the morning. And I think that's the vision you want to have in your head, and that's what I try and get my clients to see, that so that they're willing to push through, and dedicate the time to replacing that program.
I notice with a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people who retire, they seem to not have much life expectancy left in them. Do you think that it's important for people to continue to set goals?
Yeah, you should never stop setting goals. I don't think there's ever a time you want to just say, okay, now it's my time to sit on the couch and watch soap operas. I think that's the kiss of death, right?
Mm.
So, even when you're getting close to retirement, you should work out what that vision for your life is going to be, in that post-retirement world. I mean, just because you stopped working doesn't mean that you stopped being valuable. You still have so much to give back, and obviously maybe that's not going to be 5 days a week or 40 hours a week, but you have things that you want to do, and I think it's important to map that out and set those goals for you, and then when you reach them, set more, that's again part of a life. You still have decades of use left in you, so
Living, yep.
make sure you live it. Yeah.
So, given that we're talking about those in that period of their life, what about others? Who are your preferred clients? Who do you work with?
Generally right now it's people in that age group between 30 and 50 who,
Mm.
I mean, they're working, they're in their careers, but they're not feeling fulfilled, right?
Yep.
Like, so, it's a lot like, I use that term hamster wheel, right? You're just running on that hamster wheel every day, but you're not getting any traction. You have goals that you want to achieve, but you just never seem to get any further. And so, I work with those people to kind of break free from that traditional hamster wheel type mentality, and move them down a path where they start to see small but beneficial changes in their life, and build that momentum to really get them rolling into something compelling.
I love to provide as much value as we can whilst we're on the show. So, I wonder if you could share what are some of the major commonalities, if there are any, between people that you work with.
Oh, that's a really great question. Commonalities. You know what?
They're very
Let's see.
driven, they're depressed, or what are you looking
Well,
for?
definitely, I think that one of the reasons they're coming to me is because they're either in a state of depression, or
Mm.
they're they're fed up,
Yeah.
right? Like they
Yeah.
just they don't, you know, and you know, that's what a coach really does for you, is that for those people that are sick of being on the same path and not getting anywhere, you know, a coach offers you an opportunity um, to kind of go on a different path, and we help you, we walk with you down that path. So that's, you know, it's people who have just become, you know, they're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they want to do something different, but they just can't do it. They just can't figure out what the next move is. And, you know, that's when they, you know, they go out and they look for an opportunity to find something different. And that's kind of where I come in and help them.
Fantastic. Now, you often hear mind, body, and soul, but I wonder, on balance, to be able to influence your mind and be healthy, do we need to maybe work on the body first? Which one do you think comes first?
Yeah, okay, and that's a really great question. And I'm a firm believer that you kind of have to work on your mind first.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you know, let's take a basic example, which is, you know, very common. You know, somebody wants to lose 20 or 30 pounds or get into shape to run a 5K. Um, you know, you can hit the gym and start doing it. But I don't think, unless you have the plan and the mindset for success,
Mm-hmm.
that you're going to achieve the results that you want to achieve. So it starts with a mindset. You know, it starts setting up, you know, what does that goal look like? What do you look like when you're you know, when you're 20 pounds lighter? What does that feel like? What is your life like? You know, why is it important to you? And once you have that clear in your mind, achieving that goal is all the easier for you.
See, that's the thing, isn't it? How it links back to the goals that we just mentioned earlier. Very powerful conversation. I'm really loving it now. What's your perception of imposter syndrome? Have you suffered it? How do you recognize that you're experiencing it, and what do you do about it?
Yeah, imposter syndrome, that's a really good one. And, you know, definitely something that I have experienced my entire life, and something I still struggle with today. And I think that you'd be hard pressed to find people that don't have it, professionals that definitely that don't have it pop up in their life at some point. But yeah, you
Mm.
know, through my IT career, it was always that feeling that I never knew what I needed to know, and I was never smart enough to make an impact, and that definitely, I think, affected how well my career went, because I was always holding myself back. So you never you never really commit, and you never really push yourself further than you can, because you're always afraid that, you know, what if I come across looking like an idiot?
Mm-hmm.
So and then, you know, obviously when I started my own entrepreneurial journey, you know, you always compare yourself to you know, the Elon Musks of the world.
Yeah.
How can I be in the same level as this kind of guy? And it's it can be pretty daunting. So you definitely see imposter syndrome there. And you know, as bad as imposter syndrome is, and again, this is something that I tell my clients, that, you know, there's a good portion to it too. You know, if you're able to look at it um, as a way to try and push yourself to always improve, right? So um, don't let it defeat you.
Mm.
But if you feel that if you're not worthy enough, you know, try and isolate those areas that you think you can be better at, and push yourself to improve, and you're growing, right? So
Yep.
you know, it end in the end, it's not an altogether bad thing. You just have to be able to recognize it.
Be able to recognize it. You know, you've got such a great wealth of knowledge. You're a kind soul, and you're certainly out there helping a lot of people. And I'm just wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing your work as the executive contributor to Brains magazine. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah, it's, you know, it's really Brains magazine has you know, a lot of amazing people that contribute a lot of really great articles, and you know, a wealth of knowledge. So when there was an opportunity to be part of that group, it was something I really wanted to jump at. Just it's, you know, it's just a fabulous medium to get out some information to people, and you know, that's kind of what I want to do these days, is just push out uh, push out some knowledge for people, just that you know, something that tweaks with them, one thing that can help them make their life a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of where I want to focus these days. I think
And that,
there's real value in just making life better for as many people as I can.
yeah, it's time to give back, isn't it? Now, tell us about
Yeah.
the top 3 tools people are going to need in their self-development toolkit.
Oh, yeah. Uh, these are kind of the things that I feel that if everybody, if you did just these, I think that you would have a life that is just, I mean, I think it's much more spectacular. I think you would, if you have issues or concerns in your life, these 3 tools would help. And the first one is meditation.
Mm-hmm.
It's scientifically proven. It's not just some it's not
Woo-woo.
just some monk sitting. Yeah, exactly. That's right. Exactly right. It's there's science behind it, and if you do some research on it, you'll find that a lot
Absolutely.
of
Yep.
the real famous people that we look at use it daily. So meditation, visualization, and again, there's some science behind the art, the tool of visualization. So picturing where you want to be in your life. What do you want? What are those goals that you want to achieve, and what do they look like when you get there? And science shows that the human mind, it's hard for the human brain can't tell the difference between what you visualize and what is real life. So as you start to visualize these things in detail and put some emotion behind them, it helps adjust your reality so that you
Mm-hmm.
achieve those goals all the better. And the last tool is journaling, which is again, a lot of people look at it as like, I don't want to write in a diary,
Yep.
but it's more than that. It's about spending some time every day, writing about what you're grateful for, which is an excellent start to everybody's day. You should spend some time, being in gratitude, writing about what you're grateful for in your life, and
Mm-hmm.
what you want your day to be like. So, if you don't own your day owns you, right? As the saying goes. So if you can spend some time journaling about what you want your day to be like, what you want to accomplish, what are your goals, and how you can make your day easier, again, you just help direct it. There's some real power to the written word, using a pen on paper and writing it
Mm-hmm.
down. It makes a real connection with the brain.
You know what? We've covered so much material in such a short amount of time, and I'm pretty positive there's a great deal more for people to learn with your assistance. So I'm wondering, when people want to actually find you, where are they going to do that, and what is the process to work with you?
Oh, great. Yeah. So you can find me on the web. So www.and-inspired.life. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook. But yeah, if you're interested in working with me, you can go to my webpage and book a discovery call. That's kind of like, it's an opportunity to spend some time on the phone with me,
Mm-hmm.
just like you and I did today, just having a conversation, and just talking about sort of what you want to get done in your life and sort of where you see those roadblocks as being. And I'll kind of talk to you about the way that I coach, and we'll see if we're a fit, because good coaching is really just it's a partnership. We have to work together, and I want to make sure that I'm the right person for you. And if we're a good fit, then we can just start building for that point forward.
Thank you very much, Chris. Now, you talked about conversation and, building those relationships, and I'm certainly glad that we've been able to share your work on the show today. And if you're on the call with us and you're interested, I'll be making sure that the links to Chris and all of his works at Inspired Life are available to you. No matter where you see the post, you will find links back to Chris. And with that being all said, Chris, thank you so very much for joining me on the show today.
Rick, thank you so much. This was an awesome conversation. I really enjoyed meeting you today.
Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the call, then make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, share us with your friends, and book your spot on the show at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. And if you're looking for solutions that will help grow your business, then visit myfuturebusiness.com/shop.